So let me take you to the exact moment of conception for the Bay Lights. September 18th, 2010, the morning that the idea for this project dawned on me. I had just paid $3.50 and waited for 25 minutes for a cup of black coffee and sat down to take a look at this magnificent west span of the Bay Bridge. Its 75th anniversary was coming up, and I knew that when it opened in 1936, there were 4 days of regional celebration. It was the first bridge in the bridgification of the Bay Area to open. And it was a testament to American fortitude, an engineering marvel, and then 6 months later, this symmetrically perfect bridge opened to the north, the Golden Gate Bridge, and the world's attention and the region's attention shifted. The world fell in love. And the Bay Bridge fell into its role as that Cinderella hardworking bridge, really became invisible. And I just sat there thinking, there must be some way to let this bridge shine in the region's consciousness again. And as the sun was coming up behind it, I realized it didn't have to just be a bridge. It could be a canvas of light. And I sat there and I could see it. I sat there for a full minute and I could see light moving across the 2-mile expanse, 500 feet in the air. And the vision took my breath away. And then I stood up, I said, that's a crazy idea, and I almost walked away, but I didn't. Something stopped me. About 3 months earlier, I had been taking a run on Stinson Beach, and I had a revelation. I realized that my entire life, every decision I'd ever made, every reaction was coming from just one or two places. It was either coming from a place of love or a place of fear. And if I was honest with myself, almost all of those reactions were coming from a place of fear. They were unconsciously the reactions that were designed to protect me. They very often hurt other people. And I realized that some way they were just holding me back from living a full existence, a full life. And I became committed right there in the sand that anytime I could muster consciousness, I would make every decision, big decision, small decision, from a place of love. All that mattered was having consciousness. And so as I sat there at the bridge, just about to walk away, that little consciousness of fear came in. I said, it's not that the idea is crazy. The idea is beautiful. It's that I'm afraid of being judged crazy for having the idea. So in that moment of consciousness, instead of walking away from that idea, I chose to walk out into the world with that idea, to make the loving choice and to bring it out into the world. But where does one bring such an idea? My first call was to Caltrans, where I knew folks. I was working on the bridge a little bit, and I called them with this idea. They loved the idea that somehow the bridge that they had worked the past couple of decades making seismically sound could potentially outshine the the Golden Gate Bridge just for a little while. But they couldn't really understand the vision and the concept, although they trusted me enough that I said, look, I just want you to stay open. And they promised that they would at least stay open to the idea. Then I had a really amazing moment. It's just as I was getting ready to search for an artist, a friend texted me this image. And I texted back, okay, where are you and what is that behind you? And she texted back, I'm at the San Jose Museum of Art. This is the Leo Villarreal show. So instead of typing in a generic search for, I don't know what, right? Monumental LED art bridge, I just typed in LEOVILLAREAL and hit send, enter rather, and within one click, I was at Leo's website, and for the next 5 minutes, just the hair stood up on the back of my neck. And I texted back a note, I said, I think this is the guy that I'm looking for. And right away, she texted back, well, I know him, would you like an introduction? And I just typed back YES, hit send, and within just a few moments, I was in conversation with Leo. And it was just, just remarkable that this largest LED light sculpture in the world, there was no international design competition. There was no judging panel. There was no design criteria. One of the quiet truths of this project is that so confident was I with Leo that I never spoke to another artist on this project. Then something remarkable happened again. About 3 months after Leo and I began talking, he developed this rendering. It was completely consistent with our conversations, and yet it vastly exceeded my imagination. And it was absolutely a game changer. Instead of me going into meetings trying to push this project along, wiggling my fingers in the air, and people saying, what? I would show this 1-minute video, and people would say, wow, how can I help make this happen? The ability to visualize this concept was the game changer. Now, a community of believers formed around this project, and 3 impossible things happened. One, Caltrans, the Bay Area Toll Authority, the City and County of San Francisco, and an alphabet soup of other agencies found a way to actually permit it. No one thought that was possible. They surprised themselves. And it's one thing to imagine lights on a bridge. It's another thing to figure out how to design and install them and hang them 500 feet over water and 200 feet over traffic in the middle of the night. And a technical team came together to make that happen, which was just remarkable. And then this community, formed with love, with belief. The real magic happened again, which is it was just kissed by this spark of generosity. In 1 year, this project raised $8 million completely in private funds to make this project a reality. I think that that sense of community, that love, that belief, and that generosity that was invested into this project by all of us now shines out on a nightly basis. I think there's a sublime trifecta at play with the Bay Lights. There's the nature of light in the night sky that attracts all of us. There's the nature of scale. When we're in the presence of something large, it just melts our differences away and lets us experience a sense of wordless awe together. And then there's the nature of Leo's algorithms, these patterns that pull you in and activate whole brain thinking. If you're like me at all, I find that I start with the patterns, I almost try and solve them, then eventually I drift through them. And I move out into space, and then I find myself right back inside myself and then expanding out to the people around me with a real sense of community. I think it's that sublime trifecta, the sublime nature of this work that really has it becoming the international phenomenon that it is. So, that's the Bay Lights. Question is often asked, what's next? And there's plenty. This is actual footage from an art installation I did last year as part of the 01 International Biennial. This is called Pie in the Sky, and what it did was skywrite 1,000 characters of Pie's infinite non-repeating sequence in a 150-mile arc around the entire Bay Area. It was really, it came online before the Bay Lights came online, but it was completely inspired by the Bay Lights, which I think became possible because of its impossible nature. If it were a halfway idea, people would have wished me luck, but because it was so audacious, people got inspired. They got inspired to action. But what I like most about this project is that for a brief moment, it printed a universal truth above all of our heads, above the language and the borders and the beliefs and the affiliations. And for just a while, something that we can all agree to is the truth. These are actually from social media. This project will happen again 3 more times in the coming year, once over New York, once over Los Angeles, and once over a city to be named, to be determined. It also has a satellite interpretation, Pie in the Sky, where Pie in the Sky is, as we speak, circling the Earth in a satellite by Planet Labs, beautiful organization. Chris is going to be speaking next. And it loops the Earth every 90 minutes, 500,000 kilometers a day, and there'll be a free app that will let you track Pi wherever it is around the world, above or below you. Another project that's gaining quick traction here in San Francisco, may become a reality, is called Light Rail. What Light Rail does is takes the energy that's amassing along the Embarcadero with the Bay Lights and just drives it right up our most important, in some ways our most troubled street, Market Street. From one market all the way to Van Ness, 2 miles long, rails of light above your head that reflect above your head what's happening beneath your feet with the transit systems. So you can be there and a whoosh of a BART train will suddenly come over your head, pause at Montgomery Street and move on. You'll be able to see the Muni system in there. But what's most magical to me is its ability to seamlessly permeate the socio-economic and emotional barriers that have divided that street for decades. I like the fact that light and energy can play an important role in transforming our city as we think about what's next for Market Street, ripping it up and putting it back down in a different configuration over the next 5 years. But the project that I'm really most gripped by, I guess, doesn't have a rendering yet. In May, I was giving a talk at the Bay Lights, and a woman, a Korean-born American woman, made a beautiful comment. She says, I live right across the street from the Bay Lights, and I can see it from my apartment window, and I spend time with it every night. And about 3 or 4 nights a week, I just walk over to the Embarcadero and I sit with it. And I find that if I'm in conflict with someone, whether I'm with that person or not, I cannot stay angry in the presence of this artwork. And have you ever thought about putting it in a community or a neighborhood where it can make a difference? And I just saw a place I'd never been before. I just fell into a space where I was seeing this wall between Israel and Palestine with these algorithms equally reflected on both sides of that wall. So what you saw on one side of the wall, you would see on the other, in a sense, acknowledging the divide, but eliminating it through a sense of shared perspective. And in the culture of generosity that makes so many things possible, each side would gift the other side's experience. And the name for the piece, Common Light, came to me, and as I came up from that visitation, I was sweating through my shirt, and she was still finishing part 2 of her question. So, is it a crazy idea? I just have to go back to love or fear. Is it a possible idea? We're going to find out. I'm making my first trip to the Middle East later this month.